Okay. So right now we have this arm following two systems. We need this switch to be able to basically drive which one is in charge at any given point in time. I'm going to go and take the left IKFK switch. I'm going to go to Edit, Add Attribute, and I'm going to go and click in here and put in IKFK switch. Minimum is going to be set to 0. Max will be set to 1. To be honest, you can set that value for maximum to whatever you want. It's just whatever it's going to basically clamp between on the two values. So you could set it to -1 to 1 if you wanted to. But I find this is just, it's easy to have it at 0 to 1. But I know plenty of people that will set them to like 0 to 10, 0 to 100. It doesn't really make a difference. It's just there's decimal points for a reason. Like you have plenty of gray space in between to blend. So add that in there. So we got IKFK switch right there. And anything else? No, I think we're good. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and grab the set driven key menu. So I'm going to go into rigging, flip over to animation. I'm going to go to key, set driven, set, and it'll pop up with this window right here. Now, the way we need to kind of think about this, it's kind of similar to the connection editor, where we had like incoming and outgoing connections on what would tell one thing to do another thing, to do whatever we wanted with the reverse foot. This one allows it to set keys, so whenever the switch is set to 0, we can say, hey, I want this orient constraint, the two values, remember that 1 and 1, those two parents? We can switch which one's on control, and then we can switch off the other one. So that's what we're doing here. So the driver is going to be this controller right here. That's what's telling everything to do what we need it to do. So I'm going to click on load driver, and then what is actually being driven is the constraints. So I'm going to go back over to the left skinning joints. So that's skinning wrist, elbow, shoulder, orient constraints, these three. I'm going to go ahead and load them in as the load driven. I don't need that in there. I don't know why I had that. Load driven. There we go. And you'll see like with each one we have the two parents for their respective constraints. Okay, you guys with me so far? Okay, any questions at this point? Okay, everyone else good? Okay. All right, so what I want to do is I want to go and take this controller. It's going to set initially to 0. What I'll need to do is go into each one of these orient constraints, and I'll start off with FK. That's going to be the first one in charge. So in order for this to be in charge, FK needs to be set to 1. IK needs to be set to 0. Okay, I'm going to do that for all three. Okay, now I need to go ahead and key them. So I'm going to go and grab IKFK right here. So I need to make sure that is selected. I need to make sure, like, basically where I'm setting the key from to what I'm setting the key to. So I'm going to grab the IKFK switch, make sure FK wrist joint left, and then IK wrist joint left. Both of these are selected. And then I'll go and click on key. And you'll notice that this turns kind of a dark blue. You guys see that? Okay. I'm going to do the same thing again. This is still selected. I'll go and select the two parents right here. Visually make sure this is 1 and 0. Key it, make sure it turns blue. We don't want 1 and 1 or 0 and 0. We need a 1 and a 0, okay? Because we're turning one thing off, not two things off. Okay, another one we'll do is going to be the last one. Again, 1 and 0, key. All right, now we need to flip it. So I'm going to go and click on the IKFK right here. You can also just click on it. And I'm going to go down to the bottom, IKFK right here. I'm going to switch it. You need to switch this first before we start trying to do other keys. Okay, otherwise you just overwrite what you just did. You also need to switch it first because if you go back and start changing these values and realize, oh, I forgot to change it, and you change this from 0 to 1, it's just going to reset everything back to the original set-driven key. Okay, kind of like animation in 3D, it just resets it back. You have to have two different animation keys. Okay, so we'll go back, set this to 0, set the next one to 1. I'll go back to here, set this to 0, set this to 1, set this to 0, set this to 1. Now these keys do not get set automatically. We have to go back and click on the key button again. Click key, click key, then click key again. Okay. So what should happen if we test this is at 1, we know that value is showing up here. If I go back, change that to 0, and then I go back over, that value switches right here. Then we'll go back and verify that, and then go back and verify that. Okay, so it looks like that is working. Let's test it. Okay, it's not doing like a half measure or a half move between the two, so we know that's not taking that value. If I move this, notice that those skinning joints are sticking with the FK system entirely. So that's good, that's what we want. Now, if I go over to the IKFK switch and say, hey, let's do a switch. See, it pops over. And so what's happening is I can blend it. So as I'm animating, see how that's set to 0.5? I can blend the two values. So this is useful. I know some guys like to set up what we call like enum switches, where it basically it's just like you set it to IK or you set it to FK. There's no blending, and it just pops from one to the other. I don't really like that because there may be an instance where like you want the hand to like blend from one position to the other. So I feel like this gives you like that ability. And if you don't, you can just set the IK switch key at 1 frame and the very next frame, set it to the FK, and then it'll pop between the two. So I like this approach a lot. It works really well for me. Yeah. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, smear frame?
Well, no, I mean like.
You can do smear. It's actual geometry. Like you can do like a blend shape that'll smear the geometry, or have an inserted geometry that does the smear for you. Okay. I'm sorry.
I meant like you know how like some cartoons, like if you're animating, they like usually like take the cart, like, you know what I mean, right? Where it's like you'll see them and they just kind of like pop over, like for a comedic effect. If that makes any sense. Or like if they.
You mean like a character like Pepe Le Pew, like just suddenly appears next to like a female character?
Or like they'll be standing there, or like jump out of nowhere, if that makes any sense for like,
Just suddenly just like pop into another pose?
yeah.
No, because that's just setting an animation key one at one time, one frame number, and then setting the very next key, the very next frame to be another pose. So that would be something different. Now with this system, you could have intermediate frames where when it's blending, you could have something to where it does like create a smear effect between the two if you wanted it to do that. I think that would look really weird, but you know, anything's possible if you believe in yourself. So, okay. So that essentially is the IKFK switch. A couple other things we need to clean up. One is going to be, we need to go ahead and add in the pull vector constraint. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this controller. I want to go and grab the IKFK handle. Not IKFK, the IK handle. And I'm going to go over to constrain pull vector and pop that in there. So now that will run. So that's good. And whenever I move this, I need the IKFK switch and the fingers to stick with the hand. I don't want my fingers to only go with FK. I don't want them to only go with IK. So logically speaking, if they're going to go with both, they need to go with the skinning joints, because that's the only thing that's bridging between the two, okay? So what I can do is I can take my finger controls, I can group them, and they will center that pivot. How in the heck did it center down there? Is there something down there? I don't know. I thought I grabbed only this. Let me try that again. Group.
See, the tokens are green.
Yeah, because I made them green.
You made them green?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I could see them. Center pivot. Okay. All right, well, that's whatever, man. Whatever floats your boat. All right, I want to just move it up here. And then I'm going to snap it to the null joint. So again, kind of similar to how we snapped the the toe control group to that toe tip. Remember that? Basically the same thing, okay? We'll go and call this left finger con group. I'm gonna go and take this guy. We'll move his pivot over to here as well, because he needs to follow both as well. And then I'm gonna go and take that finger con group. I'm gonna go and take the IKFK switch. I'm gonna group them together. So just kind of a group for them both to sit in. And then I'm gonna go and pop that pivot up to the null. Okay, you guys with me so far? Okay, so we can get rid of that for a second. We're gonna come back to that in a second, actually. I'm gonna go and take that left finger con group, and I'm gonna actually take that null joint, grab the left finger con group, and I'm gonna go and put a parent constraint on it. Maintain offset, apply. And so what should happen is that is gonna move with the hand now. And then when I switch back and forth, it'll go with both systems. Okay. So that's going to be important. We need to make sure those fingers and that IKFK switch follows both systems. We don't want it to follow one system over the other. And we definitely don't want our fingers to get ripped off. So we need to make sure all of that stays together. All right? Okay, so what would be a good constraint for me to use on for these finger controls to their respective joints? Exactly. So let's do, let me make sure I got all this set up. Oh yeah, I need to nest these guys. I thought I had them nested. Let's see. Yeah, I did have nested. I got unnested somehow. That's kind of weird. I've noticed this happen before. Watch out for this. Like sometimes things like when you're re-nesting objects, they get kind of funky where like they'll unnest themselves and you just need to put them back where they are supposed to go. So left index finger con 3. Okay, so that goes under there. Left index finger con 2. Okay. Sorry, I'm just dropping this back under here. Okay, pinky finger con 1. Pinky finger con 2. Left middle offset group 2. Okay. Okay, so that one's good, that one's good, that one's good. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so make sure they're still good. Okay. Now they got those damn. Yeah, so unparented them, kind of put transforms on them, which I'd have to freeze, which would ruin the reason why I did that. Okay. Yeah, so from what I can tell, that bug is like when I'm going in and I'm re-parenting things. I think I just grabbed something and got a little, just kind of dragging and dropping stuff, so just be careful with that. If it happens, like Control Z back out, and then, let's see if I can get it to where I can, before it went back in. Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay, so let me group these guys. Make sure that's, okay, these are still good. So we're good, that'll work. Sorry. Finger con offset group left. Okay, so let's put that together with the IKFK switch. Group these two together. Left IKFK finger con group. Okay, so we should be good to go there, and then we'll just need to redo that null to that finger con group, and that was a parent. Okay, so what was that constraint again we were talking about? Orient? Yeah, let's do orient. Okay, so con and then joint, orient, con, joint, orient, con, joint, orient. Test that. Boom. There you go. All right, do that 6 more times. Okay, make sure this follows. Yes. Okay, cool. All right, so with the switch, I like to have it to where when I switch from one system to the other, I don't leave the controllers sitting, just like the ones that are being unused, just sitting out there visible. For me, it just kind of clutters up my scene. I don't need to have that in there. So what I'm going to do is key in visibility for the used and unused systems. So what that means is if I have the IK system that's being activated, the FK system, which is not being used, is going to be invisible. And then vice versa when I switch it back. So that's going to be through me keying visibility on the shoulder, elbow, wrist FK controls, and then keying visibility on the IK and then elbow IK controllers as well. I'm sorry, wrist IK and elbow IK. Yeah. So again, I'm going to need that handy dandy set driven key. This guy right here. My driver is still going to be the IKFK switch. And then my drivens are going to be basically all of these controllers. I'm not going to include the clavicle in this, so don't bring that in. I'm going to click load driven, so I should have IK, and then 3 FKs. All right, so with the system turned on, let's just go ahead and move this. Let's see. Just turn one of these systems on, so let's do 0 first. All right, so which system is currently in control? Say that? FK, exactly. So what I want is with the IKFK switch set to 0, that means I want the IK wrist-con and IK elbow, the visibilities on both of these to be off. Okay? So we'll click key on those. But the 3 that are being used, that visibility needs to be on. Okay? So we'll go and click key. And we should get a little... Yeah, because it doesn't have a blue tick. There's no key there. So same thing as animation in 3D. I can put a ball up in the sky, and if that first key was down on the ground, if I don't set the key on the second position, it's not going to move. It's going to pop back to that original position. Same thing here. Think of, maybe this is an easier way to think of this. Think of the set-driven key, that 0 to 1, as your time. 0 frame, 1 frame. That's a difference in time for us, and we're just kind of traveling back and forth between the two. Okay, where was I? Yeah, visibility. So we got that turned on for this system. So then what I'll need to do is go ahead and set the next key. So the next time, switch that over. Notice I need to go and turn on my IK, and I'm going to go and turn off my FK. So I'll go back over to IK wrist-con elbow. Make sure visibility is clicked. And then I'm going to go over to visibility here, set to off. I'm going to pop them back on. And then I'll go over to the left FKs, visibility, and then turn those off. Make sure I click on key and click key. So now what should happen is if I switch back and forth, visibility turns off and on for their respective systems. Okay? Okay. Any questions? All right. So it is 2:40 right now. We have